Nick Wright going to join me live here. First things first, let's go to Nick Wright. So
this is unbelievable.
By the way, I
don't know. You scotched the whole herd hierarchy rather than put the Chiefs ahead of the Bills for a single week. You just said screw it. I mean, it's a staple of the show. Every damn Tuesday, you finally have no choice but to put Kansas City ahead of Buffalo, and you said, you know what? Burn the segment. Not even going to do it, then suffer that indignity. Unbelievable. Hi, Colin.
Well, we only have 4 teams left, so it's not much of a hierarchy.
Well, rank them.
But it's funny, and it's a good point. It's ironic. It's coincidental, but it's still a great point. No, I want to, I'm going to go to the Josh Allen thing. And I said this. They may be great next year. Doesn't mean they're going to win it. Those Buffalo teams for years that didn't win, those were great teams. Great coach, great. But I said, here's the thing about Josh Allen. They're going to be viable for this reason. Think about how great Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson is. And I forget where I put the number, but Josh Allen has scored like 73 more touchdowns than Lamar Jackson the last 4 years. Wouldn't you at least acknowledge, they may not win a Super Bowl, but Buffalo, as long as Josh Allen's in his 20s and early 30s, they're not going anywhere. Is that fair?
Well, not going anywhere. I guess that depends on your tone of voice. Like, they're not going anywhere, or this Bills team, they're not going anywhere. I guess it could be a bit of both. Here's the thing, Colin, and this is, as someone who has, obviously, because I'm a Chiefs guy, been rooting for my hometown team in the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years against the Bills and Josh Allen. The version of Josh Allen that showed up to the game Sunday was the least scary. And I think the Bills, because they are scared of Josh's turnovers, made him less of a scary player to play. Since Joe Brady took over, Josh Allen was under 250 yards passing in every game but one. The one game he had big passing numbers post Joe Brady was the Dolphins game, the end of the regular season, when he had 3 turnovers. And I think the best thing the Bills have going for them is their quarterback. And they appeared to me to be afraid of their quarterback making the big mistake, so they asked him, check it down, run the ball, take the easy completion. But when you ask someone to do something that is against their nature, and that is against Josh Allen's nature, it is very hard to do that for 3.5 hours. So what we saw on Sunday was Josh Allen play exactly the way they wanted him to play for 3 quarters. And then when, despite that, they were trailing, what did we see on the final drive? The best and the worst. First play of the final drive, he throws a 65-yard pass on a rope in cold weather, outdoors. And, it would have been a tough catch because any 65-yard pass is tough to catch, but it was a perfect pass. So that's the best. But then what else did we see that drive? He fumbles the game away, fumbles their season away if it's scooped up the way it should have been.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the drive, 2nd and 9, has Stephon Diggs move the chains, keep bleeding the clock. He has to go for the kill shot. 3rd and 9, he goes for the kill shot. So I think if you're Buffalo, you can't coach the Allen out of Allen. You just have to somehow find a way to mitigate the mistakes.
Yeah.
Because to play a game against the Bills where they don't have a single 20-yard play, where Josh completes 16 passes behind the line of scrimmage and 2 passes more than 5 yards downfield, that's not a scary Bills team. It just isn't.
The Ravens are interesting, though, because and I was saying this earlier about the Harbaughs. Jim Harbaugh is really not your classic offensive coach. You can't pigeonhole him. Both the Niners and Michigan were led by their defense. Michigan never threw the ball down the field. And John Harbaugh's really his history. He started an offense to special teams. His Flacco team was a top 10 offense. It was a Flacco hot streak. And this team's got a great defense. But it's his ability to embrace Lamar and keep adding elements to it that has made it great. Aren't you, whereas Sean McDermott is the classic defensive purist, and Andy Reid has an edge. Harbaugh's hard to pigeonhole. They do offense. They do clever. Baltimore is, to me, less predictable, harder to pigeonhole. Harbaugh's harder to label. To me, if I was a Chiefs fan, I would be worried about Baltimore. They just do a lot well, and they're kind of unpredictable due to Lamar.
So, yeah, I mean, listen, Baltimore, going into the year, this was odd because I doubted Baltimore. Going into the year, the AFC is so deep. I didn't know about the Burrow injury. I thought the Ravens were going to miss the playoffs. So I was dead wrong on Baltimore. But the same show that I said I thought they were going to miss the playoffs, I also said of all the teams in the AFC, they are the one I would least like to play in the postseason.
Right.
Because Lamar's best is so dynamic and so unique that if he is playing his A-plus level, they do seem almost unbeatable. And then you add to it what I didn't know they were going to have is scoring-wise the best defense in football. They are a great team. They had 3 losses, you throw out the final week of the year. They had 3 losses all season, and they led at the 2-minute warning in all 3 of those losses. I watch all your media, Colin. I know you don't believe in the Chiefs still. You think the Ravens can, walk all over them, blow them out. I get that. I'm surprised you don't, in, almost a Tom Brady context, bring up this stat. I don't hear anyone mention it. Patrick Mahomes is 0-2 in the playoffs against Brady. He's 13-1 in every other playoff game.
Yeah.
And the one loss was in overtime. So I don't think anyone in any building deserves to be 3.5-point favorites over a healthy playoff Mahomes.
Yeah.
Last year we saw him in the postseason on one leg be able to score 38 in the Super Bowl. But I have a healthy respect for Baltimore, and they have earned every step of this. Unlike Buffalo, which I felt like a lot of it was the media wish casting what they could be, the Ravens have walked the walk all year in all 3 phases of the game, and they are more than a worthy competitor. And now I'll add this, Colin. Given how Dallas once again flamed out in the playoffs, it feels to me, and we don't always get this, that we truly did get the 4 best teams in the league start to finish as our Final 4.
Yeah.
San Francisco, Detroit, Baltimore, Kansas City. That's the right Final 4.
So I was saying this during my preamble to you, is that you and I have been on the same kind of feeling with Brock Purdy. Players obviously, Drew Brees fell to the 2nd round. But, if you look at Dak falling to the 4th round or Kirk Cousins, very similar players, there's a reason they fell to the 4th round. One wasn't an accurate thrower. One wasn't a big, strong power thrower and an athlete. Is that Brock Purdy is the last guy taken in the draft. Not everybody's a dummy in the league. And it is interesting. I had said earlier today, Mahomes loses Tyreek Hill, wins a Super Bowl. Lamar's on a 3rd-string running back without his Hall of Fame tight end, AFC Championship. Josh Allen, pre-Stephon Diggs, was just fine. Brock Purdy deals with a drizzling rain and no Debo, and they were outplayed by Green Bay. Do you feel justified? I don't think they're going to beat Detroit without Debo.
Oh,
I don't.
wow.
I don't. Do you feel a little justified on Brock Purdy? I'm mystified by smart people who are struggling to contextualize the Brock Purdy debate. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not mystified by it. I just think folks are more sensitive to criticism than you or I. And it is the easy thing to do is say, look at his record. Look at his numbers. What more do you want from him? I think the more nuanced point is this. What is your opinion of Brock Purdy? And how much of that is informed just by the numbers, and how much of it is informed by the fact that these games are on television and that we are able to watch it, and that we watch football for 5 months every Sunday. We watch all these games, and I give Brock credit. The end of the game, he came through. I didn't think he would. I didn't think he could, and he did it.
Yep.
But for 3 of the 3 hours and 15 minutes that game was on, he was the worst player on the field. Right? We had a debate about a player. Is he the league's MVP? When deep down, everyone knew not only was he not his team's MVP, I think right now, deep down, inside and outside the locker room, if you were asked, what is the Niners' biggest weakness? Not the MVP of the league, the weakness of the team, they would say the quarterback. And then folks love, and you referenced this, Colin, folks love saying, well, you feel a certain way about him because of his draft status, as if that's not rational. Of course the draft status is a part of it, because the draft is not random names selected out of a hat. I understand it is not all science, right, but there is a level of, if the people whose job is evaluating players on a full-time basis across 32 teams, every single one of them at the most important position had multiple opportunities to grab a guy, I think that's valuable data. I think his size is valuable data. I think his athleticism is valuable data. And if the rebuttal to that is, well, then explain Tom Brady. That is like making an argument about not needing superstars in the NBA because of the 04 Pistons. Because there is a once a quarter century anomaly does not mean the rest of the data is irrelevant. And I just don't think people deep down believe Brock Purdy's excellent. Yeah. I think it's easy to say he is because the numbers say he is, and they don't want to get yelled at. I think deep down everyone knows if the Niners don't win, it will be because the quarterback is not good enough.
Yeah, I think you're right. By the way, I'll bring the herd hierarchy back next week, especially if Baltimore wins.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I've been waiting all week to see not only that Kansas City was on there and Buffalo wasn't, but I was pretty confident you were going to have Kansas City last of the four. And the Chiefs have been thriving off bulletin board material all year, a lot of which has come from this television show. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's if I did a herd hierarchy this morning with the four left, that's interesting. Yeah. I would do Baltimore 1, Kansas City 2, very close.
Okay.
And I would do... Man, if Debo is healthy, San Francisco 3, Detroit 4, and I love Detroit. But I don't think Brock Purdy, even with Debo, can beat Mahomes I think the AFC champ is the champ. That's what I feel today. How about that? So I think the closest to Baltimore's
Baltimore's going to feel great. If Baltimore gets through Kansas City, I think they're going to feel like that. I think Baltimore looks at this weekend as the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to disrespect the Lions and what they've accomplished, but Baltimore beat the Lions by 1,000 points earlier this year, and Baltimore a few weeks ago beat the Niners by 2,000 points. Yeah. So I think Baltimore, and you don't have to worry really about the emotional letdown because if they get there because you have the extra week to prepare. So I think the winner of Chiefs-Ravens, I believe, is winning the Super Bowl. And, I know I'll save my pick till Friday. You don't know who I'm going to pick in Chiefs-Ravens, Colin. I could surprise some people. Who knows? I got to analyze the all-22, look at all the data, and see what I come up with.
Yeah, it's sort of like me taking the Lions over the Rams. I think I have a hedge on that. I know where you're going. Good seeing you, buddy. Nick Wright, first things first. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.